One of the first things I met in Nigeria, cultural shock actually, was the meeting of death. Not death as a hidden topic in the hospital, but something that was part of life. Life was and is still highly valued in Nigeria. Many children are called Nduka. Life is better than everything. But you can understand why so many others are called Nonye, Nonyem. Stay with me. Because during the first year of life, many kids do die. Die of running stool, vomiting, diseases brought about by dirty water, malaria, all kinds of things. And part of a week is just always hearing about death. A child has died, an adult has died. One of my colleagues, a professor, died because he needed oxygen. He had a problem and there was no hospital on campus. He was taken to the medical center and they were struggling to open the canister of oxygen. It was rusted and they couldn't open it and the guy died. One of my colleagues, another professor, was killed in a motor accident. She was coming back from Enugu to Nsukka, some 70 kilometers, and she had a fatal accident and she died. That year I was head of department. I just came to the department early morning to be greeted by that news, with the department in lamenting and wailing and people saying, what should we do next? And then I remember I was going to the village for burial, the ancestral village, and the husband talking as if he had lost his mind, saying things that none of us did understand. He was blaming himself for his wife's death, saying that he should have known, he should have stayed with her, and all kinds of other things that didn't make sense. And then we left and people didn't even cry. It was just like another thing, you know. We almost lost our son first because he died when he was 7, but when he was 1.5, he got that kind of disease, you know, vomiting and stooling. And then he was getting weaker and weaker. I took him to the medical center. They tried to put some drip into him and couldn't succeed. The veins were collapsing. And I remember them saying, oh, let him rest. And I was just there paralyzed with bewilderment, and in fact it was beyond expression, until the director of the medical center came by, and we knew him because his wife was German in the same department with me. And he said, what are you doing here? And I explained. He just went to the staff nurse and said something, and then they took him with the ambulance. At that time, ambulances were still running. They took him to the Catholic hospital in town at Nsukka, and then they tried to put him drip on the arms, everywhere. They even asked me for permission to shave him. The hair didn't work. It was getting worse and worse. And then I told them, please try again. And they tried, and miraculously the drip entered, and they put one drip in each arm and put a piece of wood to hold it, and said to me and my husband, just hold him, because if this comes out, that's the end. There is nothing we can do again. It was the heart of Hamatan. It was so cold. Obviously there was no window. It was all open. And we were shivering in that room, each one of us holding one arm and praying hard. And my husband said afterwards that He had begged God that night, please, Lord, save my son. And we stayed like this the whole night. Eventually, the drip held, and our son recovered, and he still lived until, it was discovered later that he had a degenerative disease, and he eventually died when he was 7. And that was just one of those, one of many. Every time one of the staff of the university died, all the other staff, including me, put on black gowns, and we went to the lying-in state in his department or her department. I remember particularly the head of music at a point died. And I remember the coffin in that room and people singing. And then we walked along, and it was like the road to nowhere. Because I remember when we left the Department of Music with that coffin in procession, where we went, I forgot. I was so overwhelmed and engulfed in this. We are not even talking about all the lying-in states, wake keeping in different parts of the campus. So every year, we buried people. And I remember the time my own son died, and the medical center brought the corpse in the morgue, the little morgue. And then 1 week after, we went there to collect the corpse to bury, and discovered that the staff in charge had switched off the light. So the corpse was in the way of decomposition. I remember the smell, the stench of death. And I had to cut his fingernails, dress him, put a pillow in the casket, put the little body in the casket. And at that time, the man in charge was sick, so he was in the medical center being treated. And people went and told him what happened. And I remember his name because he was called Mwatorocha. That is lamb, white lamb. It was the picture of innocence. Mr. Mwatorocha. He came with a huge syringe that I'd never seen such a thing. It was looking like a pipe. And he started injecting, I think, formalin or something into our son's body. I couldn't stand it, and I went out and I vomited. That was death. After studying the war, before ever I came to Nigeria, studying the Biafran War and the death that happened. And I remember many, many years down the line, here in the UK, where I put a picture of the Biafran children on Facebook related to a study I was making. Facebook threatened me with canceling my account, saying that this is not acceptable. That is what the West is thinking. Death, we don't talk about it. Shh. It's taboo. In Nigeria, it's just the opposite. Life and death are just so close to each other. Within the twinkling of an eye, you're the other side. And I just discovered this year. I was trying to explain why I can never rejoice fully. No matter the good news that people tell me, it's just a silence inside. I'm happy, but it's really buried down in me that I cannot jump and rejoice. And I hardly cry either. It is because of the trauma. And I don't know how many Nigerians have suffered that. Maybe because they were used to it, they were born in it. But I tell you, it's a terrible thing. And so any effort that is made to alleviate that suffering is welcome. And I beg you, if you are a Nigerian doctor or nurse or hospital staff, and the UK and the West are just telling you, come, come, you will have running water, you will have money, you will have electricity. Don't go. Remember those that you leave behind, that will have no doctor. Just like the book in our house that was called Where There Is No Doctor. That was our Bible at that time. In case of sickness, we always checked. Life is better. Ndoka.